Hi girls, in this video I am going to explain the concept of constructors in Java. In Java, a constructor is a block of code similar to the method. It is called when an instance of class is created. At the time of calling constructor, memory for the object is allocated in memory. It is a special type of method which is used to initialize the object. Every time an object is created using the new keyword, at least one constructor is called. Why it is called a special type of method? Because the class name and the method name is the same, that is called the constructor. Because while creating object for that class, the constructor will be automatically called and then it will initialize the values for that class. It has a default constructor if there is no constructor available in the class. In such cases, Java compiler provides a default constructor by default. There are two types of constructors in Java. The first one is the Java with no arguments, and then second one is the parameterized constructor. It is called constructor because it constructs the values at the time of object creation. It does not necessary to write a constructor for a class. It is because Java compiler creates a default constructor if a class does not have any. Rules for creating Java constructors are: constructor name must be same as the class name. A constructor must have no return type, even void. And then the third one is a Java constructor cannot be abstract, static, final, and synchronized. And then the important point here is we can use access modifiers while declaring constructor. It controls the object creation. In other words, we can have private, protected, public, or default constructors in Java. The types of constructors there are two types. The first one is the default, that is a no argument constructor. The second one is the parameterized constructor. The first one I am going to tell you is the Java default constructor. A constructor is called default constructor when it does not have any parameter. The syntax of that default constructor is the class name, empty parenthesis here. So example of default constructor is given in this picture. Here this is the class name is the bike one. This is the constructor bike one of, because the class name and the method name is same, then it is called the constructor. While creating object for this class bike one, the constructor is automatically called and it will execute the statements given within that constructor. Here you can see there is no parameter is given in this constructor. So this is a no argument constructor. After this method is called, it will go to this constructor and then print the output statement bike is created. So in the output you can see the bike is created. If there is no constructor in a class, compiler automatically creates a default constructor. So this is the default constructor, that means without any arguments. Example of default constructor that displays default values. In the above example there is no default values, just print the output statement. But here in this example you are going to see how it displays the default values using constructor. Here in this example program, the class name is the student3. The two members are declared within the class ID and the name, and one method is declared, that is the display. Now within the display method, one output statement is given that is going to display the ID and the name. Here this is the main function. Within that the object is created for the class student3. The first object is S1 and second object is S2. By using this object, the method display is called. Here the constructor is called once automatically if there is no constructor is defined in the class itself. Here the object S1.display, that means calling the method display using the object 1, it will call the method display and it will print ID and name. There is no argument is given here. So the default value for integer is 0, the default value for string is null, so that value is printed in the screen. And then for again the second object S2, by using that object S2, the method display is called. Once again the method is called, and then in the printout statements the ID and the name is print, that means it will print null, 0 for integer and null for string type. So in the above class we are not creating any constructor, so the compiler provides you a default constructor. Here 0 and null values are provided by default constructor. And then the parameterized constructor. A constructor which has a specific number of parameters is called parameterized constructor. The parameterized constructor is used to provide different values to distinct objects. However, you can provide the same values also. Examples of parameterized constructor is given in this program. The class name is student4. Within the class, the two members are declared, the ID and the name. The ID in the integer type and the name in the string type. Here, this is the constructor. The constructor is defined within the class. The argument given for that constructor is I and dn. The two arguments are given here. So this is the parameterized constructor. And then the method is declared in the class student4. In the main method, object is created for the class. While creating the object, the method is the constructor is called here with the two parameters, the triple one and current. These are all the two parameters that is passed to that constructor. While this constructor is called while creating the object, for the integer I, the triple one is accepted, and for the name n, the current is passed here. And then by assigning the value I to id and n to name. So and then the second object is created for the same class student4. The value passed to the constructor here is the 222 and RN. So the value of 222 is assigned to the ID and RN is assigned to the the member name. So after that, after the constructor process, the method is called by using the object s1. S1.display. While calling this method, the ID is displayed with 111 and the name is displayed with the current. And then by using the object s2, the method display is called. At that time, the output for ID is 222 and for the name is RN. So this is the concept of the parameterized constructor. While displaying, while running that program, 111 current was displayed for the first object and second object 222 and RN is displayed. And then the constructor overloading in Java. In Java, a constructor is just like a method but without return type. It can also be overloaded like Java methods. A constructor overloading in Java is a technique of having more than one constructor with different parameter list. They are arranged in a way that each constructor performs a different task. Once again, I repeat this. They are arranged in a way that each constructor performs a different task. They are differentiated by the compiler by the number of arguments in their list and their types. This is very important concept. They are differentiated by the compiler by different number of parameters in the list and their types. Here this is the example of constructor overloading. Here in this example, the class name is the student5, ID and name and age. 3 members are declared within the class, and then the constructor here have the two arguments, the integer I and string n. And then another constructor, the overloading means the same constructor with different arguments. So here for this constructor 2 arguments are given, for this constructor 3 arguments are given. Okay. Here there is a method display also given. In the main method, for the student 5, 2 objects are created s1 and s2. For the first constructor, the parameter is 2 parameters. Number of parameters given is 2. While calling this constructor, the value is assigned to ID is 111 and name is current. And then after this second object is created, the constructor student5 constructor is called again with the 3 parameters. At the time, it will go to this constructor and it will assign the value 222 for I, RN for N, and age 25 for A. So this is the concept of constructor overloading. You have the two constructor, having two constructor with the same name but different arguments. Okay. So this is the constructor. This is also the constructor, the same name, but the arguments here we are giving the 2. Here it is the 3 arguments. So that is called the constructor overloading. So while using this method, S1.display, it will display the 2 values, 2 and current, and then for the second object, it will display the 3 values. So for the third value, it will give the null value 0 because the age is declared in the integer type, so it will give the 0 value, that is a null value. So there is a difference between the constructor and the method in Java. That is, the Java constructor is used to initialize the state of an object, while a method is used to expose the behavior of an object. And then a constructor must not have any return type, but a method may have some return type depending upon the program. The constructor is invoked implicitly. This is also most important point here. The constructor is invoked implicitly. The method is invoked explicitly by using the object. The Java compiler provides a default constructor if you don't have any constructor in the class. The method is not provided by the compiler in any case. The constructor name must be same as the class name. The method name may not be same as the class name. So this is all the difference between the constructor and method in Java. So this is the pictorial representation given here. The first one is the method is used to expose the behavior of an object. Constructor is to initialize the state of an object. So all given here. So I will explain the next two concept of copy constructors and method overloading in my next class, guys. Thank you all.